Thankfully, I made it out alive. When I got dragged to the palace, I was sure I'd be killed, but I survived somehow, a servant asked Leffy. I am the only person who is aware of His Majesty's condition right now. I suppose you are the second, Miss Leffy, she asked. I see. It's been 10 days since Emperor Persilian turned into a child? Just as I expected, they called in the court physician and a priest to examine him, but no one could come up with a solution. Those who saw the younger version of Persilian were given a potion that erased the past 2 hours of their memory as they left the room. There are mages in the Ascart Empire as well, but they weren't called on. A magician arrived, but entry was forbidden. Do not enter on penalty of death. It was mostly because the memory-erasing potion wouldn't have worked on a mage, but that wasn't all. First, Persilian knows how to use magic. The king waved his hand and asked for silence. Agrast? He was the most talented mage in the whole empire, and if he was cursed, then there was no way any other mage could help him. On top of that, all mages are registered with the Mage Tower, but that place is currently under Archduchess von Dida's control. Since the Mage Tower and the Archduchess could be behind the Emperor's curse, they wouldn't have been allowed to examine him, a servant asked. After turning into a child, His Majesty lost the ability to use magic. He said that it is because he seems to have been returned to the time when he was 4, before his mana had even awakened. Leffy asked the servant. When did his mana awaken? When he was 9. The servant replied. Leffy thought for a moment. In that case, if he just waits for 5 years until he turns 9, then, the servant began to think and became suspicious. In that case, if he just waits for 5 years until he turns 9, then, Leffy sat in a chair and asked. It may be that they don't know when the curse will activate. I see. The servant replied. We're managing imperial affairs for now, but the nobles are starting to ask questions because the emperor suddenly cancelled all of his official appearances. Now that 10 days have passed since any of the servants have seen him, I'm certain rumors are starting to spread. You must be aware of this already, Miss Leffy, but His Majesty has many enemies. What happened in the process of Persilian ascending the throne? Leffy asked. Persilian killed all 4 of his siblings in order to become the emperor. The late emperor suddenly began to cough up blood and died of a heart attack after a one-on-one meeting with Persilian. The blood-stained throne was another title for the current emperor, Persilian, the servant asked Leffy. His Majesty has said that there must be a clue inside the palace. He stated that it would be impossible for him to be cursed unless a lot of time and planning went into it, so he believes that there may be some sort of item that is amplifying the curse inside the palace, another person asked. So we have to find that. A sudden thought came to Leffy. Yes. Can you see where it is located? Leffy said. It's not all that clear. I got confused after hearing this. She asked. I can't see a thing, the servant told Leffy. For now, we plan to announce that His Majesty has gone on vacation. That should buy us some time to look for this item. Find the cursed treasure hidden in the Imperial Palace. Reward for succeeding, life. Punishment for failing, death. This quest cannot be skipped, Leffy asked. How did this place get so overgrown? The servant replied. It hasn't been taken care of in a while. Yes. It was the late Emperor's garden, after all. Leffy thought. I shouldn't say such things in front of the person rumored to have poisoned the former emperor. She asked. What's wrong? The servant replied. I'm just checking under the flower pot, Leffy asked. But why do you have to knock it over? There's no need to look in the same place twice, so I'm making it clear. It'd be a waste of time if we looked in the same places again, Leffy smiled. You are so clever. I will look as well, the servant objected. This is my job. You have to see if you can sense the curse. Okay, she sighed. He gets to do all the fun stuff. Leffy started to wonder why he was running so fast. She thought, no. Persilian, the servant asked. Who goes there? No one is allowed to enter this place without the Emperor's permission, a man approached. I was on my way to the palace when I heard a commotion here, so I stopped by, Leffy gasped. Archduchess von Didas, she thought, the Archduchess? Only one person in the Empire holds that title. The one and only older sister to the late Emperor, Divk von Didas, a nobleman spoke. I cannot believe the late Emperor's once beautiful greenhouse has been so neglected. This place is an important asset of the imperial family. We must hold a meeting of the aristocracy and raise our objections to His Majesty at once, another noble responded. There's no rush, Count Haddart. The whole empire knows that the Emperor is far too busy these days. As his loyal subjects, we should not add anything to his grievances. He is so occupied that he has no time to make any official appearances, and perhaps that led to him collapsing from overworking. I heard he will apparently be going far away on vacation soon, so I came by to see how he was doing. But now I see that the late Emperor's greenhouse is being destroyed, and I really don't know who I should be talking to about this matter. Can you tell me what is going on? What is your name? She hesitated. Ellen Fila. No, my name is Leffy. I see. I thought I saw a little boy knocking over the pots in here. I would like to speak with him. Would you step aside, Leffy? He is only a small boy who is acting his age. Please chide me instead. You mean to say that you will take responsibility for destroying my brother's only greenhouse? Another noble asked. Leffy? You mean the fortune teller? Fortune teller? Oh, yes. She's been the talk of the empire recently. She tells prophecies on the streets, but they say she's really accurate. Is that so? Then what might be the reason for such a popular fortune teller to be in the imperial palace? With a blonde child hiding behind her, Leffy said. That's... The little king started thinking as he walked. Persilian! He was looking strange. The little king was also looking at him. Both were staring at each other. Well, Leffy looked at him questioningly, and the little king looked at Leffy questioningly and hugged her. Leffy was scared to see the little king's attitude, not right. She trembled. The little king shook her in a hug, and she began to think about him. The guy pulled the little king and hugged him, and the guy thought, It seems like the Archduchess doesn't know it's Persilian, but what am I supposed to do? The guy said. He looks so much like His Majesty. The servant said. Does he? Leffy said. He's a bit more delicate than the Emperor, but they really do look alike. Leffy thought. I see. Clearly, the Archduchess didn't know Persilian as a child. Leffy was surprised to see the little king holding Leffy tightly. The guy said, They're so alike. Leffy asked the guy. Actually, this boy is the Emperor's child. The servant was surprised to see all this. The little king said, Why? The guy, confused, said, But His Majesty isn't even married. Leffy said loudly. His Majesty had a child out of wedlock. The servant gasped. So this boy, he's the Emperor's, His Majesty's son? Leffy said. Yes, exactly. The reason I am here is to serve the young Mastergh. The little king held Leffy tightly. The servant said, I don't believe His Majesty ever had a woman he was interested in. Hold on, is that why he's gone on holiday? Leffy said. That's right. He has gone to meet this boy's mother actually. She died, so keeping her alive will make things complicated, right? I'll just say she died then. The servant said. So the reason His Majesty hasn't attended all of those events these past 10 days? The guy asked. Yes, because of the sudden arrival of this child and the news of his lover's death, and the reason His Majesty is on holiday is to visit her grave? Leffy said. That's right. You got it. Why did he leave the boy behind? He said that it's for the boy's own good. The guy is beginning to wonder what the good of the boy in this situation is. He thought. I stuttered. I hope she doesn't realize. I'm lying, and he covered his mouth. So he's going to treat his own son the way he was raised himself. The guy thought. I guess she believes me. The little king pushed him. Huh! Stay still, young master! There we go. What a good boy. Leffy hugged him lovingly. The guy said. What is that boy's His Highness's name? Leffy picked up the little king lovingly. Leffy said. Eri. Prince Perry. The guy said. Pierre. All right then. And he said. Next time. The guy asked. I will greet you properly, Your Highness. He bowed politely, turned, and started walking. He asked Leffy. Do remember that this is a place you cannot survive in unless you grow up to be strong. The little king took a look and hugged him. Leffy thought, He must like his new name. And she said, he pleased. The servant's face turned yellow seeing all this, and he thought, Sir Millard, Leffy said, glaring at him. That went well, didn't it? The servant asked. Miss Leffy, do you have any idea what you've done? The little king said. Ellen Fila Ruth de Morsha Irenaeus River Marguerite. He said. Well, The little king turned and asked. I asked this what you foresaw in your vision? Leffy said to the king. Pardon? And Leffy thought. My vision? And she asked. Exactly. That's right. This is perfect. He just has to think that I foresaw all of this. The little king started smiling. The little king said, I saw a vision of you losing your head. Maybe I can see the future, too. The little king happily placed his hand on her neck, and Leffy said, Okay, the little king said. We'll have to see what your future holds. And the little king looked at him. She held out his hand and said, Look at it, Viscount Gerlsier, the Viscount said. So, the Archduchess has already seen the prince? The guy said. Yes, that's right. According to Count Hedart, they ran into him in the late Emperor's greenhouse, the Viscount exclaimed. But His Majesty has forbidden anyone from entering that place, and he said, They said Prince Perry has grown up outside the palace until now, the Viscount thought. Then he must be incredibly naive. That means I may be able to manipulate the boy into granting me a place at his side, to a boy who is barely 4 years old. That must mean that he has already decided on his late lover's son as his heir, he said. That tyrant never hesitates to point his sword at his vassals, but it turns out he's quite the romantic, the king said. I love you. I can't miss this opportunity to influence state affairs, the Viscount said. What do boys his age like these days? The guy smiled and said. Since Prince Perry has lived outside of the palace, I imagine he must like ordinary things, the Viscount said. Extended, and the guy said. Why not start with something that piques every child's curiosity? The Viscount laughed and said. Oh, Imperial Palace. 5 days later, the king knelt before the little king and said, I have brought this for you, the little king asked. Why? The little king held it in his hand and asked again. Why? The little king kicked and threw it. A role-playing object was tossed aside. Leffy moved towards him as the roll number lowered. The Viscount started to pick it up. The little king asked. What could it be? Leffy asked. How many presents like this do you think His Highness receives on a daily basis, my lord? I'm saying that it's boring, the Viscount said. Is that so? Leffy asked. Yes, so. She smiled and added. Next time, you should bring a rattle covered in pink diamonds, the Viscount said. Pink diamonds? Do you have any idea how expensive? Leffy interrupted. Pink diamonds. The king looked at the Viscount in the same tone. Leffy said. Oi, shameless. What did you say? The little king thought, the Viscount said. I can't afford pink diamonds, the king said. They bring me terrible gifts like this. But all you can think about is money, Leffy said. Your Highness! How could you look down upon me like that? This is all a ruse to show the nobles how sophisticated your tastes are and to keep them from trying to ingratiate themselves with you so easily. That's my big plan. The little king became silent. He shook his head and said, Ooh, he didn't get angry. Leffy thought, I suppose all these changes have tired him out. When I first came up with Prince Perry, Priscillian was very upset. Shut up! Shouted the little king. He said that he was trying to tell me that I should say he's just a relative of mine, but Leffy said in a low voice. The king thought that saying we were relatives wouldn't have made any sense. Leffy thought, he's just so cute and feisty. I felt wronged, and Priscillian ended up giving me a grace period. But surprisingly, the situation started getting better. No one had any suspicions about the sudden appearance of the prince, Leffy asked. How could he be so different from his father? Right? He's just so adorable. And the fact that he looks exactly like the Emperor just made it more believable, Leffy said. I'm glad nobody seems to have known Priscillian as a kid. And thanks to me telling everyone that the poor prince misses his father, the girl said. Oh my, I see, He was able to keep using his own bedroom too. And so, Persilian no longer has to hide in his own palace, the little king said. I'm going to sew your mouth shut. The one downside is that all these nobles keep showing up, trying to buy his favor, the Viscount said politely. Boing. But other than that, everything seems to be going well. According to the rumors, Perry is seen as a tragic prince. The story goes like this. His mother went into hiding because she was worried Perry would be used as a tool if anyone found out he was the son of the emperor. She hid the boy from her lover as well, and when she passed away at a young age, fortune-teller Leffy, who was her friend, couldn't stand for the injustice and took the boy to the imperial palace to meet his father. By the way, I didn't come up with this story. It was thanks to the wild imagination of all the servants and nobles, the man said. Miss Leffy, is it true that the reason His Highness came to the palace is, Miss Leffy said. Oh, and the man asked again. Miss Leffy, is it true that the reason His Highness came to the palace is, the little king started staring at them, Leffy asked. Your Majesty, isn't this much better than those 10 days you spent hiding in your own palace? Leffy smiled at the little king, calling him the beam, the king said. Humph. Thanks to you, I've become a man who had a child out of wedlock. And a piece of garbage who let his lover die. Miss Leffy thought, even when he's grumpy, he's still cute. Oh wait, the king asked. Is this because of Lady Cyril? What does she have to do with any of this? Miss Leffy smiled and thought, she has everything to do with it. Diggles. The novel described Persilian as taking a liking to Cyril because they had similar childhoods. He could empathize with her, Leffy asked. Maybe we can ask her for help when she gets back. The little king turned and said, Don't involve that girl in this, eek. He called her that girl. What a sweet way to call her. I knew it. My favorite couple was Canon after all. Repeat after me. Canon. Canon, it will be a while until Cyril comes back. Are you saying you won't be able to solve this until then? Leffy said. And no, of course not. If I still haven't gone back to normal by the time she returns, you'd better get ready to say goodbye to your head. Leffy got into the boat and started swimming. Leffy bowed politely to the little king and was knocked out in the process. The servant came and said, Boing! May the Ascart Empire flourish, Your Highness, and asked. The Archduchess has sent you a message. What is it? She says she will be holding a welcome banquet for you, Your Highness. Seeing the servant, questions started to arise in the king's mind. You must have more knights to guard you, Your Majesty, said the king in a muttering manner. So, you're saying you're too weak? The servant said. You will be attending an official event as the prince, so you must be wary, sire. Leffy thought that Sir Millard had his work cut out for him. She says she will be holding a welcome banquet for you, Your Highness. Hearing these words, a question started to arise in the king's mind. She says she will be holding a welcome banquet for you, Your Highness. Leffy asked Millard. What kind of nonsense is this? She covered the king's mouth and said, Thank you. You may leave. Once Persilian came of age, he turned into the most powerful mage, and was able to withstand any attacks from the nobles. But right now, Prince Perry is only 4 years old and unable to use magic. It's the perfect opportunity for him to get ambushed. In other words, Prince Perry needs to have more knights protecting him. But since he doesn't trust anyone, Prince Perry said, Please, sire. And Prince Perry thought, I don't want any more people surrounding me. Don't worry, Sir Millard. Millard asked. I'll help protect His Majesty, the prince asked. Find a few more skilled knights, Millard replied. Understood, Your Majesty. Then, Millard turned and walked away. Leffy thought, he thinks I said that to help him. I can't tell him the truth. It's too humiliating. And she asked? I guess I helped, and that's all that matters. While there may have been a document signed by the emperor saying that he entrusted the prince with everything, both the nobles and the citizens of the empire weren't ready to accept that. As far as they knew, Prince Perry was just a normal kid who grew up outside of the palace. So how would he be able to handle state affairs? Before the nobles agreed to overturn the emperor's decree, they needed to ally themselves with some of them. That was why Prince Perry had allowed a few nobles to meet with him. But since there were too many for him to meet individually, it was only natural that Archduchess Dift's idea of a welcome banquet would be accepted by everyone. There was to be a festival held in the capital as well, since the loyal citizens also had to welcome the prince. But the real intention behind the welcome banquet was clear. It wasn't to welcome the prince with open arms, but to try and flatter him and manipulate him into making the decisions they wanted for state affairs, Leffy said. Besides, the Archduchess hasn't come to meet with the prince since that day. I feel like she might have something up her sleeve. There's no way of knowing for now, so I guess I should focus on the present. In other words, she should focus on Your Highness! What about this color? A girl spread clothes of different colors in front of Prince Perry. I believe red suits you. Blue seems to suit you as well. We could put you in any color imaginable. They were making Prince Perry look nice for the banquet. Since this was his first official event as the prince, they needed to make sure he looked the part. I will make you the greatest outfit you've ever seen, the famous fashion designer declared. Leffy thought, everyone is so enthusiastic. I suppose when you're dealing with such a cute client. What do you think, Miss Leffy? Someone asked. Everyone kept asking for her input. It's hard to choose because everything looks so good on him, Leffy said. I agree. Because I was seen as the prince's nanny, I was always by his side. And I didn't mind it either, Prince Perry frowned. I have no intention of looking cute, Leffy asked. Cuteness is your greatest weapon, Your Highness. Leffy touched a tie. Ooh, this is cute. She picked up the tie and tied it around Prince Perry's neck. No, let's. She stopped, surprised. Prince Perry had snow-white skin and shiny, soft strands of golden hair. His eyes glittered red like rubies, and his pouty little lips. If cherubs were real, this is what they would look like, Prince Perry said to Leffy. You're treating me like a toy doll. Leffy thought, he's a bit more like a fallen angel, but still. You're as pretty and cute as a doll, Leffy admitted. She was silent for a moment. Ugh, I can't resist. I want to dress him up, Prince Perry protested. No, not this. This isn't it either. That's not it either, Leffy snapped. If you've lost your mind, get out, Leffy asked the king. Don't tell me you're going to say this was part of your vision too. I'll say it again, Your Highness. Cuteness is your greatest weapon, the king sighed. How many times do I have to tell you? I don't want it. Please reconsider, Your Highness. Cuteness triggers a protective instinct. In other words, it increases your chances of survival. When humans see cute little animals, they instinctively want to protect them, right? Elephants think that humans are cute, so unless they are threatened, they don't harm humans. They actually try to protect them, the king asked. What's your point? Right now, the nobles are all waiting for the moment to strike and influence state affairs through you, Leffy said. You can defeat those hyenas with your cuteness and protect your right to the throne. The king clenched his fists. Get out, Prince Perry said. I thought you might have some great plan, but it was this. Get out, Prince Perry tried to push Leffy out. Ow! Leffy laughed at Prince Perry's actions. The prince pointed at her. That mouth of yours is the problem, Leffy said. But Your Highness, I only speak the truth, the prince growled. There you go again with your lies, Leffy said. Oh, I did study politics. Prince Perry began to feel dizzy. Leffy thought, now's my chance, the little king asked. What? Leffy thought, oh my goodness, he's a golden kitten. Then she noticed something. Hold on, who brought in all these cute accessories? He might be a kid, but he was still the prince. With the emperor gone, he was the most powerful person in the empire. Who would dare to? Leffy asked the king. Who brought in these ears? The girl hesitated while speaking. Leffy gave a thumbs up and said, Okay. The girl nodded at this gesture. We had just met, but we bonded immediately, the king said. Just get out. Both of you. A few days later, finally, it was the day everyone, except Priscillian, had been waiting for. The day of the welcome banquet. Everyone in the imperial palace was beaming, seeing all this. Leffy's face started to shine, and she thought, Oh God, my eyes! The servants of the imperial palace did their best to make this the most luxurious welcome banquet imaginable, as if they were trying to hide the emperor's absence. Other than the aristocratic society, nobles who wished to hold the emperor in check, there were also nobles who were loyal to the empire and its ruler. So, the The servants wanted to make the occasion as grandiose as possible to prove that the emperor was still in control. The aristocratic society may also be happy about the scale of this banquet. So long as they were able to manipulate the throne, the more powerful it was, the better. Leffy asked the king. Your Highness, you should really look for a loyal noble to rely on tonight, the king said. I will do no such thing, Leffy replied. Come on. It's not a bad idea to get closer to a few nobles in order to get a closer look at the aristocracy. Persilian had so little trust in other human beings that the only noble he was close to was Cyril von Regina. One can only trust oneself. He was so capable and talented that he had been able to last this long by using his magic abilities. But now that things had changed, it would be a good idea for him to look for a loyal vassal, the king said. A noble who would swear fealty to a kid can't be trustworthy, Leffy sighed. I guess so, Prince Perry interjected. And shouldn't you be looking for the cursed item instead of asking me to find a loyal subject? Leffy responded. I think the search would go much more smoothly after you've gathered a group of trusty vassals and secured your standing, the prince said. Never mind, someone approached the prince, saying, Glory be to Ascart. I have prepared a small gift for you, your highness, to welcome you to the palace. The prince thought about it. The king waved his hand dismissively. That's not necessary. It isn't my birthday, nor is it a national holiday, she insisted. It is only a small welcome present, the prince said. Small gifts are always followed by requests. If you really want to welcome me, you can, Leffy thought. Who is this? The prince continued. You can aid me while my father is absent. Leffy turned her head and thought. I thought I just saw him make a really weird face. People started whispering among themselves. If His Highness keeps maturing in such a way, the future of the Empire looks bright, another noble added. I can already see his potential as a wise ruler, the prince overheard someone thinking. Prince Perry is already in charge of the Empire's future as Emperor Persilian D. Ascart XXI. He heard the sound of someone walking. Leffy thought. Here we go, she then said. Your Highness, a man bowed politely. I am finally able to greet you officially, the king thought. Archduchess von Didus. Though the prince never had any vassals to assist him, it was determined that a 4-year-old child wouldn't be able to do everything on his own. Most people seemed to expect Her Grace to become regent. She bowed politely. I apologize for not showing you the appropriate amount of respect when we first met, the prince replied. It's fine. Don't apologize, she said. You must be so overwhelmed by the sudden burden placed on your shoulders, she then asked. The passing of your mother must have been difficult on its own. But now His Majesty, your father, is absent as well. The prince thought about it. She continued. Please let me know if it all becomes too much for you, your highness. I am your family, after all, she smiled. Leffy thought. That's right. Divk is the sister of the late emperor, so she would be related to Prince Perry too, Leffy said seriously. She'd be his great aunt. The prince was glad. The king looked at Leffy, and Leffy, sensing his gaze, asked questioningly. She stared at him. The prince said, Thank you, great aunt. But I will try to make it work on my own. Thank you? For being so familiar with me, your highness. If ever you need me, I will be here for you as your great aunt, she responded. That's very reassuring. But I heard that you said this to my father. If you want to survive, don't rely on anyone but yourself. All you have to offer is your imperial blood, so use that to your advantage. She thought about it. The king then asked, And didn't you say last time that I won't survive unless I grow up to be strong? Leffy stopped breathing for a moment. She thought, It's gotten really hard to breathe. The prince's aunt smiled and said, I'll do my best. She then added, I believe you will do very well, your highness. The sound of footsteps echoed. The little king sighed. Talking to the Archduchess is exhausting, Leffy asked. Then talk to me instead, your highness, the king replied. Talking to you gives me a headache, Leffy pouted. Okay. 1 cold glass of lemonade, please, the prince said. Yes. Leffy handed him a glass of juice. Some lemonade for you, your highness. It helps with headaches. The prince took his glass, hesitated, and started to drink. There was a slight stirring and murmuring. Sir Millard asked. You can take your leave, a servant pleaded. No. Please, Millard thought. What's all the commotion about? The king said. Come to me. The servant approached, and Millard explained. One of the nights we picked Tio's stand guard tripped on the stairs outside and hurt his leg. I told him to go home, but he insists on staying by your side, Your Highness, Prince Perry said. Such impressive loyalty. The servant stepped forward. It is only a twisted ankle. Please allow me the honor of guarding you till the end, Your Highness, Leffy thought. Look at this guy. He just got a ticket for the express train to hell, Viscount said. I too grew up without a proper father figure. And so, I can relate to you better than anybody, Your Highness, Prince said. That's enough. Leave. People started whispering among themselves. Your Highness! There are countless heinous rumors about His Majesty. They call him a heartless monster who would slaughter people, Viscount declared. I will stand tall and protect you myself, Your Highness. Like a tree able to withstand any storm, the guy stammered. Why, Your Highness? The king shouted angrily. Hand me a sword, Leffy thought. Oh. I guess the Viscount's life is over. Prince Perry started toward him, dragging his sword, Leffy thought. I shouldn't laugh. A quarrel started between him and the prince, Leffy thought. How does he plan to kill him? The king shouted. Draw that sword! And kill yourself with it, Leffy thought. Ingenious. People started whispering among themselves. Like father, like son. Goodness, the guy thought. Huh? Hold on. Insulting my father right in front of me is no different from insulting the throne. Why, Your Highness? That was not my intent, Prince glared. If you had no idea your words would come across that way, you should have kept your mouth shut, Prince continued. You are a liar and a cheater, people started murmuring, Leffy thought. This is bad. The king started walking toward him, Leffy said. Your Highness, you shouldn't spill blood on such a happy occasion, the king said. That man insulted me, I mean my father, Leffy thought. He did insult the emperor without realizing who he was talking to, but even with that in mind, the Viscount really behaved too rashly. Telling a child about his father's notoriety, Leffy smiled and said. But still, it wouldn't look good to be so violent when everyone came here to welcome you. How about you forgive him just this once, since you're so generous? Viscount fell to his knees. Please forgive me, Your Highness, Leffy whispered in the king's ear. The king said. Yes, I suppose this is not the time for spilling blood. I will let you live, Viscount stammered. Thank you, the king smirked. From now on, whenever you speak, you must bark at the end of every sentence. That way, everyone will know what a dog you are. Go ahead, try it. Viscount's eyes widened. Pardon? But, the king raised an eyebrow. Did you not understand what I said? Your head really is empty. It doesn't deserve to stay on your shoulders. Viscount trembled. Thank you so much for being so merciful, Your Highness. Arf. The king scoffed. That doesn't seem to suit you, Viscount perked up. Are you rescinding your order? The king smirked. Arf sounds unnecessarily cute. Go with woof instead, Viscount whimpered. Woof. The king turned to the crowd. Everyone gathered here today, please listen. From now on, whenever you speak with Viscount Glamavera, and he doesn't add woof at the end of his sentences, let me know, the people whispered. Yes, Your Highness. Leffy turned to the king. The king looked at her questioningly. The little king sighed. I need some fresh air, Leffy nodded. Yes, sure. She led the king to the window and glanced at him. Do you want me to leave you alone? She asked. Prince Perry shook his head. It's fine. If you go in there alone, the nobles will swarm you. Leffy touched the curtain. Oh, so you're watching out for me, the king scoffed. No, I just don't trust you. You might let something slip in front of them, Leffy grinned. I am loyal to you, sire, the king smirked. Yeah, right. You're only here because I threatened to kill you, Leffy thought. I can't deny that. If those nobles kidnapped me and tried to kill me, I might confess everything, the king thought. Woof. What a cute, horrible. He's exactly like his father, Leffy muttered. I heard that the nobles were wary of the throne, but I had no idea they'd be so obvious about it. Priscillian had his magic to protect him, but right now, all he has is a few loyal knights at his side. He's so strong for securing the throne by keeping the nobles at bay and not letting them gain more power. Leffy touched the window. If you hurried up and took care of the curse, it wouldn't be, she sighed. Oh well. The future is still shrouded in darkness, so... She started coughing. Leffy asked. I may not be able to break your curse right now, but I can give you a shoulder massage. The king shook his head. No, thanks. Leffy noticed his exhaustion. He must be getting sleepy. Priscillian tended to get tired more often, being in the body of a child, and retaining the mind of an adult seemed to be tying him out even more. She smiled. He started dozing off when we were dressing him up, too. That was cute. Would you like to return to your room and go to sleep, sire? The king frowned. I can't leave my own welcome banquet early, Leffy teased. You're still a baby, Prince Perry. Everyone will understand. So let's go, Betty, bye. She covered her mouth as she coughed. The king scowled. I told you not to treat me like a baby, Leffy smirked. Look at how sleepy he is, she urged. Let's go back to your room. The king hesitated but started walking. Leffy asked. If it's too hard to walk, I can carry you, the king snapped. Don't you dare. Leffy grabbed Prince Perry and started walking. I was just offering, the king huffed. You were being nosy, Leffy grinned. Let's go back. The king's gaze flickered. That sword! You too! The sword was glowing, Leffy thought. The sword? It felt as if the flames had started to flare up.